The Chicago Bulls, coming off a huge victory against the Toronto Raptors, will now take on the Miami Heat in a do-or-die game to determine who will be the 8th seed in the NBA playoffs and take on the Milwaukee Bucks. So let's talk about this matchup. What is going on, y'all? Faiz Sports all back at it with another video talking, of course, some NBA here to talk about this matchup between the Bulls and the Miami Heat, folks. And I got to tell you, first and foremost, man, that was such a fun game to watch against the Raptors, obviously, with that incredible comeback. I gave my thoughts on that game in my recent video. Go ahead and check that out. But we got to turn the page and get back to business here because the Bulls play now against the Heat. So when I take a look at this matchup, the first thing that people are gravitating towards is the fact that the Bulls went 3-0 against the Miami Heat in the regular season. And I got to tell you, while I love that, and the Bulls do match up with Miami, certainly much better than they matched up with Toronto, I'm not going to put a lot of stock into that record just based off the fact that we just saw Miami lose to Atlanta, and they beat them down 3-1 in the regular season. Okay? So just because you beat a team in the regular season doesn't mean it's going to translate in the playoffs or playing, etc. Whole new ball game here, do or die situation, both teams desperate. With that being said, let us break down the matchups here and the advantages and or disadvantages. So for me, number one with the Chicago Bulls, I believe in this game, kind of the X factor here is going to be the Vooch versus Bam Adebayo matchup. I mean, Bam Adebayo is one of the best defensive centers in basketball. He's one of the best centers, period, but he's really a guy that can make life difficult for Vooch. And so I need Vooch to certainly be aggressive, stay aggressive, not back down when he's going up against Bam. Similar to how he did with Jakob Poeltl, but of course we know Bam is light years better than Poeltl. But yeah, Vooch needs to definitely know that, this is a tough matchup, but we need him to stay engaged, stay locked in, and stay aggressive. Because that, to me, is going to be kind of an X factor, like I mentioned here, because if Bam completely takes over and takes advantage of Vooch, which I don't foresee happening, but if he does, that could turn things around. But that's really the X factor. When we break down kind of the X's and O's here, I got to tell you, folks, the Bulls, they match up well with the Heat because we are a team that packs the paint and we let three-point shooters shoot. And that does not bode well for the Heat's best player, Jimmy Butler, who likes to get to the bucket, doesn't really shoot threes. And so with Jimmy, the way Atlanta beat the Miami Heat was with Jimmy struggling from the field. He went 6 for 19. Now, a lot of those could have been blown layups that he would have made regardless. But my point is Atlanta didn't shoot like incredible from the field. I think they shot like 47%. Trae Young struggled and they still won. So my point to you is the Bulls' key is always going to be defense, not offense, because that is what has turned their season around. So they need to keep that momentum going on the defensive end. And you got so many guys you can throw at Jimmy in terms of defenders. You got Pat Bev, you got Caruso, you got Patrick Williams. Like, you have a bunch of good defenders to throw at Jimmy Butler. Again, we pack the paint. We don't allow a lot of buckets inside. And Jimmy doesn't like to shoot threes, and he's not a great three-point shooter. All right, so certainly from the Heat's best player perspective, this is advantage Bulls. All right, and then we take a look at the other side. Who do the Heat have to guard DeMar and Zach? All right, the Raptors had a bunch of bodies to do that, and I told you the only way that was going to happen where the Bulls beat the Raptors is if one of DeMar or Zach go off, and they did. Now here with the Heat, both DeMar and Zach could get off here because I'm looking at this Heat's team. Right, they've got decent defenders here in Caleb Martin. Obviously, you got Jimmy, who'll probably cover one of these guys, but then he's got to exert all that energy on defense and then score on offense as well. Just saying. But a lot of the other guys, you got Tyler Hero's not a great defender, Max Strus, Kyle Lowry, like guys like that. By the way, I think Kyle Lowry is going to start. Heat coach Eric Spoelstra said they're going to make some changes before this game. I think the change to the starting lineup is going to be Kyle Lowry starting. They had been starting Gabe Vincent, so expect that to be the case. So it'll probably be Lowry, Hero, Strus, Butler, and Bam. My point is, they don't have a lot of great defenders outside of Jimmy and maybe a Caleb Martin. All right? So that's advantage to the Bulls. And I take a look at this overall kind of matchup here, and, I'm going to say, like, unlike the Raptors here, I don't think this is a talent mismatch. I think for the most part, both these teams are, close enough as it is talent-wise, but the Bulls are hot, right? The Bulls' defense has been much, much better. The Heat are on a downward trajectory. The Bulls are on an upward trajectory. And so to me, all of those things combined, I'm taking the Bulls here to win this game. I just think they're playing better basketball. I think they're a better defensive team. Certainly, Miami has it ways that they can win this game with like Bam taking over or Jimmy just going off. But for the most part, I think the Bulls have more advantages here than the Heat do. All right, the betting line opened up at I think 5.5 plus 5.5 for the Bulls. I don't think it should be that far. Like I hammered that. Like it should be like a pickup basically in this game. And the odds makers are telling you that the Bulls are underdogs by 4.5, 5.5 points. So I don't agree with that. I'm gonna take the Bulls to win this game. I think all they have to do is go ahead and not let Jimmy get off in the paint, and we have the requisite defense to do that. Throw a bunch of defenders at him. Vooch holds down his own against Bam. We're good. Right, like Lowry doesn't scare me. Hero doesn't scare me that much. Even if he goes off for like 20, 25, so be it. Strus doesn't scare me. Like none of the guys off the bench scare me that much. So to me, I think the Heat, I think the Bulls can win this game. I know it's in Miami, but we just saw the Bulls go on the road against Toronto and beat them. Not expecting the Heat to go 18 for 36 from the free throw line, but I think the Bulls will have enough to get this one done. So give me the Bulls to beat the Heat in advance to get the 8th seed in the NBA playoffs. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment down below. As always, thanks for watching.